Today I'm looking at a Toshiba RP1520M that I picked up on eBay recently, very inexpensively. This is an interesting radio in so much as that it's got three bands, the usual AM band and the FM band, but it also has a public service band that covers 146 megahertz clear up to 174 megahertz, including the weather band. So this radio seems to function more or less, but the controls are all kind of scratchy and dirty and need to be cleaned, and the volume / on-off knob seems like it needs a little work. You kind of heard it click when I turned on the radio there, and then you can hear the volume is really kind of cutting in and out as I turn it up. But when I turn the radio off, it doesn't click. So something's, I don't know if that's the intended operation or something's up with it. So I want to take that apart and try and clean that. This radio is also unique in that it has a squelch control, which is kind of interesting. And that's probably for the public service band. You could tune that to one of your desired frequencies and just set the squelch up. I'm not sure if it works on, I guess it does work. It probably needs to be cleaned. Looks like it works on the other bands as well. That was FM. Not sure if I can get the AM to work here. Yeah, it's a little bit touchy there. So we'll get that cleaned up and then see if it works. It's not working there. Yeah, this doesn't seem to be working on AM, which I wouldn't really expect it to. But anyway, I'll pull the radio apart and see what we can see. First thing I'll do, of course, is unplug the radio. And then next what I'll try and do is remove some of these knobs. I'll start with this top one. I'm just going to take this little screwdriver and try and pry it off. I want to be careful to try and not nick or scratch anything, but it doesn't seem like this wants to come off, and I don't want to break it. So maybe I'll try and get under it here like that. This thing is, I think it's coming a little bit. Just seems like it's on here real good. Just try to do this gently and not damage the plastic too much. And I'll work kind of either side in even increments, and then that seemed to come right off. And that is just one of those kind of star tooth type knobs. And then I expect the other knobs are the same way. And sometimes you can grab these right with your finger. Yep, I was able to get that one. I'll try and get this one too. Yeah, okay. Had to squeeze on that fairly hard, and that looks like it's in pretty decent shape. And then, I'm not sure if this tuning knob is going to come off the same way or not. I don't see any set screws or anything like that on here, but it's hard to say if that's going to come off or if that's on a different way. That may not need to come off anyway. I'm going to leave the tuning knob. It looks like the plastic is recessed around it, so I have a feeling that this may be clipped on from the inside and that I'm not going to be able to take it off. I don't want to try and pry it off because I'll end up breaking it, I think. So I think what I'll just do is flip this on its front and try and remove the screws. It looks like there's just 4 screws on the back. One here, one here, one here, and here. There doesn't seem to be one hidden underneath the battery compartment door, which I've already removed. Okay, so I guess I'll use this screwdriver since I'm not sure where my other one is. And that first screw felt loose, as if somebody had already tried to take it out, or maybe the plastic is broken inside. one's loose. That one's out. Back to this one. Something's going on with this one. I don't know if it's... Yeah, it feels like it's stripped or broken there. I think that's already out. Yeah. So I want to be careful here. It looks like there's some wires attached, which some of those are the power wires. And I think there's probably a wire for the antenna here too. Yeah, you can... I don't know if you can see that or not, but... So that seems to lift out. And I want to grab these other screws out of here and set those aside before I end up losing them. Okay, so it looks like I really didn't need to take the knobs off. There's the two controls, the squelch and the volume, down here, and those are accessible now from the back. Although they are kind of sealed, I may need to kind of pull the cover up a little bit on those to get some contact cleaner in. And then there's the band switch one here that, if you can see, all the wafers are exposed, which is why this one is probably a little worse shape than these in the first place. But so I'll go ahead and try and get some cleaner on these. Okay, so this is the cleaner that I'm using, and this is actually something you can buy at your auto parts store, but it is electrical contact cleaner for all intents and purposes. It's not quite as good as the Oxit brand or some of the industry brands. I do have some really heavy duty stuff, specifically for electronics here, but I found that this tends to melt some forms of plastic, and I'm reluctant to use it on this old radio, as it might start to melt the plastic. This stuff, although it's not quite as strong, it is safe on plastic. So I'll just use that. I'm going to work on this first, and clean that put a fair amount on there. And I'm going to put the knob back on, actually, and I guess I didn't need to take that off either. Okay, I've got that lined up, and I'm just going to work that in a little bit. And I'll put it back the way it was. Or I'll put it in the opposite position and then squirt it again. Okay. And then work that in. For these controls down here, what I'm going to try and do is take this real fine point screwdriver tip. Of course, my arm's in the way there, but what I'm going to try and do is, you can probably see there's some tabs on the body of the control that are kind of bent over the back plastic. And I'm going to just try and bend those up and out of the way a little bit so that the plastic comes loose a little bit, and that I can get a little bit of contact cleaner in there. Now, I want to be careful that I don't pull this thing all the way apart. I just want to crack that open enough so that there's a little bit of a gap in there, and that I can get some contact cleaner down in there. And I don't need a ton of it, just a little bit. My can is not quite cooperating with me, but I think I got some in there. And then what I'll do is I'll put the radio back on its belly, and I'll hold this with my finger and then bend the tabs back into place to kind of hold that together. And this last one I kind of bent out a little bit much. Might need some pliers to help me bend this one back. Okay, you want to make sure you don't poke your finger off. Okay, so that should be good for that one. Now the on-off switch and the volume control knob that I was looking at before, that seemed a little bit weak. You can kind of, I don't know if you can see it in the camera if I've got it angled right there, but the on-off mechanism is on the outside of the control, and it's just a little switch mechanism. In fact, I'll put the knob back on temporarily so I can operate it. And you can kind of see it work there, and I guess it just doesn't click when you shut it off, because it looks like it's functioning just fine. There doesn't seem to be any real corrosion there. I'm not sure how well the camera's showing it. This wire might be in the way. But anyway, I'll squirt a little contact, well, I'll do that after. I'm going to try and pop this one apart the same way I did the other one. And this would be a little easier if I disconnected the antenna, I suppose. But I'll just try to do the same thing I did here before and pry up the tabs. And this one I want to be a little cautious with because of the external mechanism there. I don't want to damage that. And in fact, I might just do the 2 tabs instead of all 3. The third one is kind of buried under the on-off mechanism, but I should be able to prop that up some. It doesn't want to stay up without help, so I'll prop it up with the tool here. And get a little juice in there. And while I'm at it, I'll get a little on the switch mechanism. And then again, I'll hold this back down. Bend these tabs back. We should be good to go. I'm curious now if the on-off switch is going to click differently. Oh yeah, it does click when it's off now. Okay, so that did help a little bit. You can kind of hear it clicking when it goes to the off position now. So I feel a little better about that. Okay. Well, I guess now what I'll do is just put it back together temporarily. Okay. And just dry the bench off here a little bit. Okay, and I guess I can put these knobs back on. They don't appear to be keyed. Well, maybe I'll leave them off so I can clean them. I'll put them on partially. I want to pull them off and clean them later. Okay, that one is keyed. That's the right knob then for this. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to pull that off again anyway. So there we've got that. I'll plug it back in and check out how it works. Seems to come right on. I'll pull the antenna up a little bit, see if we can get some stations. And it seems to be working okay.
Nissan.com. Offers in March 2nd. Nissan.
Yeah, and there's the squelch. I guess it doesn't fully squelch it. You can hear a little bit of sound coming from the speaker still with the squelch on the FM band. The volume control seems to work okay. Tighten up this antenna. These antennas have a little set screw on them, which you can use to tighten them. See if I can get things oriented in the right manner without destroying the radio. There's just a little set screw up here, and that's actually a flathead screw. Sometimes those are Phillips, but luckily it's a flathead, so I'm just going to tighten that up a little. And that seems to do it. I'm going to give it a little bit more. There, now that'll stay. Flip off this light I have here. And that seems to be working okay. Yep.
St. Patrick's Day.
And everything seems to be lined up just right,
Huge snow piles.
I think.
Has the rebound for Keanu, or Kia Stokes.
That's pretty close. It may not be perfect, but I think it's close enough for those stations.
Living paycheck to paycheck and decided to do something about it. Now it's your turn.
That's definitely WDRC 1360, and you can see it's right at 1400. So it's off a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about it that much. Well, I think that's it for the technical repairs. Everything seems to be working properly now. I think what I'll just do now is, before I put it back together, I think I'm going to give it a good cleaning, try and clean up the plastic as best I can, and clean the knobs and things like that. And then I think I'll call this done. So anyway, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully it was, if not helpful, at least entertaining in some way.